Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. We started something 2 weeks ago here. We decided we were gonna kind of get into soccer/football a little bit more. That's not American football, and we had Coach Joey on 2 weeks ago, and this is now something we're gonna make hopefully weekly, a little bit regular here. We're still coming up with the name. We're stuck on the Soccer Hour right now, but for now we'll stick with this. So again, it's another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast, and this is the Soccer Hour. Thinks the earth is flat, so it never sat well with me.
Do you want a company that refuses to use your call box or
have to be patient? I don't understand why Chelsea gave him the tax so quickly.
You want to know who took cheap shots, Greg? Christian Leighton. You want to know who everybody talks about? Christian Leighton. You want to know who's one of the best basketball players ever in college? Christian Leighton.
So admittedly, probably going to have to come up with another video intro for this one because I don't think the Soccer Hour is something where we need to be talking about NBA legend Christian Lantner there, but suppose it is what it is. Joey, thanks for joining me again. I'm pumped that we're going to get to do this now on a regular basis. Let's start off right away here with the Premier League. We talked 2 weeks ago. We talked about a couple teams and games that we wanted to see. One of the teams I'd say we probably talked about the most was the reigning Premier League champions, Liverpool. And it's been a little bit of a tough stretch for them since we last talked. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, it's hit the fan for them. It's an absolute nightmare situation for them, and things have changed. So when was it? 2 weeks ago we did our first episode.
Yep.
Things are almost completely different 2 weeks ago, which is kind of crazy and perfect example of how competitive the league is and how crazy the season is. So yeah, it's been exciting. Lots changed. Definitely starting with Liverpool.
It's weird because I didn't totally buy into it, but we were kind of talking about if they still had a chance, and we said they had to win their game 2 weeks ago. They didn't, and then I'm a Leicester fan. We all know what happened last weekend. That just didn't look like. It just didn't look like a championship team that was playing.
No, the perfect word to describe it is a nightmare. The City game, losing 4-1, two massive mistakes from their goalie, pretty similar to Leicester.
Another one against Leicester.
Yeah.
A terrible mistake that it was 1-1. They just let up their 1-0 lead. And Alisson's just wandering out of the net just needlessly. His center back has it covered. That's three really bad mistakes in 2 games at a stretch of the season where you can't make it. Does he deserve to be starting this upcoming weekend? That's my reaction too. A sigh. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you got to stick with him. Their backup's horrendous, so I think that makes the decision a little bit easier. But he's one of not the best goalies in the world. Yeah, it's a terrible mistake, but I don't think it's just with him. Obviously, when you're a goalie and you make mistakes, it's
magnified.
Yeah, it is. But I think as a whole, in both the City and the Leicester games, so they went up Liverpool's up 1-0 against Leicester,
yep.
Imploded, gave up 3. They tied City 1-1, imploded, gave up 3 in like a 10-minute span. Same thing as the Leicester game. They just absolutely imploded. And yeah, you can point some fingers at the goalie. He definitely deserves a bunch of the criticism, but as a whole, they kind of collapsed.
Yeah, and there's kind of something else I wanted to talk about Liverpool as well. Like, obviously, everyone knows they just ran through the league last year. And I guess I can't take credit for this, but I've heard this term before, like championship hangover. You look what happened to Leicester the year after they won it. I think they finished like 11th in the table, just dreadful from the start. Claudio Ranieri was fired before the year even ended. You've seen it in the NFL as well. The Rams had a great year. Now we're talking American football, I know, and then not nearly as relevant for the next 2 years. It's very hard for professional sports teams, in my opinion, to be great for multiple years. And again, not to use the American football example again, but if you look at what the New England Patriots did under Bill Belichick, I don't think people understand how hard it is to continue to motivate guys after they've won it all like that. There's almost always a little bit of a lull. And I kind of think that's what Liverpool's going through right now. Like, they were at the top, kind of let their foot off the gas a little bit. And once you let it off a little bit, I feel like they're not finding out how to get it back right now.
Yeah, they've been, not even just last year, they've been at such a high level. For 3 years ago, they lose in the Champions League final, finish top four. 2 years ago, win Europe, come in second behind City with 97 points, would have won it any other year. And then last year they won it. So, I mean, they've been at such an unprecedented high level for a really, really long time. So I think the dip is fair. And the injuries doesn't help. It's hard to judge them on anything serious with all the injuries they have.
I think kind of watching what Liverpool's going through right now, that makes me want to give Pep over at Manchester City even more credit, because every single year they're in the mix, and we all know the unlimited budget Manchester City seems to have, but every single year his squad, since he took over, minus the first year, like, they're in the conversation at the top. And we haven't, since his first year, I feel like we haven't talked about a dip. I know last year Liverpool ran through it, but if Liverpool wasn't superhuman last year, Manchester City would have been right there with them.
Yeah, absolutely. City's performance against Tottenham, kind of going back to last week's big games, the most dominant performance of the season. Win 3-0. The last game they'd lost was against Tottenham, and towards the end of November, they lost 2-0, and to completely flip the script on that just shows how much they've. I mean, they haven't. What is it? The record or the tallies up to unbeaten in 23 games. I mean, they are just running through people.
10 points ahead as well.
I know. It's there right now. Vegas has them at minus 5,000 odds to win the Premier League. So, I mean, barring an epic collapse, it's over.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and it's weird because after Liverpool thrashed, I think it was Crystal Palace, I was like, oh, are they about to turn it on like last year and run through the league? Nope, Manchester City is right now. But if you look below the top spot, I think there's going to be a lot of fun conversations throughout the rest of the year. Another team we talked a little bit about 2 weeks ago was Everton. And Everton is kind of, I think they're in seventh right now, maybe sixth. They're kind of, we were questioning, like, are they actually going to be a legit Champions League contender? And past 2 weeks since we talk, I would say no. They've picked up 1 point, including a dreadful 2-0 loss to Fulham. So, I mean, I guess, do you think they can somehow regain where they were a few weeks ago and try to sneak into the top 4, top 5?
It's tough. We kind of talked about the Man United game as the measuring stick. Yep. And they had, which is for me, was the best game of the season. A last minute equalizer against Man U, tie at 3-3. I was like, all right, they showed me a little something. And then the game against Fulham, I mean,
you'll take the draw against Manchester.
Absolutely.
You got to against Man U, but to follow that up with a loss to a team that's deep in the relegation zone, I don't know how you can. I mean, to me, you're out. I don't know how you bounce back from that.
Yeah, and I think kind of like the old adage about the Premier League is, it's not so much beating or your results against the top teams. It's your results against the bottom half of the table that separates, the top tier teams. And you can't, when you're fighting for a top 4, you can't lose against Fulham.
Yeah, so. And you can't lose against Fulham. I mean, I've watched Leicester sneak away with bad games like that against those bottom teams. It kills you.
Yeah,
especially if you're gonna be one of those Champions League teams, if you're gonna be in the conversation at the end of the year, like you got to take care of business. And losing to Fulham, especially Fulham this year, that ain't taking care of business.
No.
Let's talk Man U now. And I think you took a little bit of heat from some people for some things you said about Manchester United on our last show. Is that accurate?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think you should be texting them right now saying, "What did I tell you?"
I know. I'm in my old age. I'm trying not to be that vindictive as a sports fan, but I want to. They've been a little bit delusional. They've been celebrating like they've won the league in November and December, and it's kind of one of those things. Act like you've been there. You know what I mean? Getting so excited being top of the table in December is incredibly premature. And yeah, I still think they're going to finish top 4, 100%. But they've hit a dip, and they've shot themselves in the foot, losing some terrible games. The goal they gave up against Everton, in the last minute was just inexcusable. They're an absolute disaster in the back. I don't know why David De Gea is still playing. I don't know if you agree with that, but
I feel bad for him. I feel like he's gone from the best to the best. I honestly think he needs some new scenery at this point.
yeah,
Like, I think the pressure at being at one of those top clubs, and I think it builds up over time. And if you've been there for a while, I just imagine you got to be frustrated. Like, you've done so much for the club, so much for the team, and then people say like, "Oh, I don't read the headlines." Like, the headlines. Like, everyone knows what people are saying. He knows what people are saying about him. It's gotta build up after a little bit. And we know they got a young guy in Dean Henderson waiting in the wings right now. Like, I don't know. I think it's time for him to new scenery. I think it'll do him some good. I think he still has the elite skills, but I just don't know if it's going to come back at Manchester United right now.
yeah, 100% agree. They need to make the switch. I've been saying it for a while now. Dean Henderson's fantastic. He was one of the best keepers in the Premier League last year. He's fighting for the England job.
Yep.
It's tough not to make the switch.
It's crazy that he's fighting for the England job and he's a backup right now.
I know. I don't think he'll ultimately get it. If Pickford gets it, I'm going to be beside myself because I think he's
I've always thought he's overrated.
so overrated.
Some of the mistakes I've seen him make, and maybe I'm judging him too much on some early years, but I don't know. It always shocked me that that's England's best, allegedly.
Nick Pope is unbelievable. Absolutely. Granted, Burnley gets shelled every time they play, but he's
That's who I'd want.
Yeah.
I want that guy that turns what would be draws or losses into points. Like, I want that guy. I want that guy that's probably seen every kind of shot imaginable over the last 2 years with Burnley.
100%.
I just don't know, like, how has Pickford like made his club team better?
No.
Pope's made his club team better.
Yeah, a lot better. I mean, he's single-handedly keeping them in the Premier League. I mean, they don't score more than 2 goals ever. So, I mean, all their games are nail biters.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's talk about this upcoming weekend here. What games are you looking forward to?
Three big ones. Number 1, the Merseyside derby, Everton, Liverpool, rivalry game. So obviously it's going to be huge. It's massive for both teams in the table. And I think there's going to be a little bit of an extra bite to it, especially after last game with Pickford ending Van Dijk's season. You had
I forgot about that. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, who's the new signing? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. The new midfielder for Liverpool from Bayern, Thiago. He got hurt that game.
Yeah.
So that was nasty. So it's gonna be good. Both teams are gonna go for it.
That was the biggest game I had. I mean, you just look at the standings too, like 3 points separate them. And I feel like if Everton was going to bounce back in terms of trying to compete for a Europe spot, whether it's Europa League or whether it's Champions League, whatever, just trying to be somewhere that they didn't expect to be at the end of the year. Like, after that 2-0 loss, like this would be the way to bounce back, upset the defending champs. So yeah, that's the game. What else did you have?
Number 2, I got Villa Leicester, another huge one for the table. I want to say Leicester's going to win, but after watching them today, I don't know. I'm not just saying that because I lost money on Leicester today. Cue the Gambling Anonymous hotline ticker at the top of the podcast. I'm not just saying that because of today, even though they were horrible. But Villa's solid, and they have a couple games at hand. So it's another game that's going to be back and forth, both teams going for it. So both of these games are going to be incredibly exciting to watch with huge end of the season implications on the line.
If Leicester loses this game against Villa, I'll be extra upset because last year, I think it was it the League Cup or the FA Cup? I don't remember which. We were playing Villa in the semifinals, the home and away legs. And remember, Villa was borderline relegation material last year. And this was going to be a chance to play in a cup final. And we completely blew it. And it was just so disheartening. And so I had to watch Jack Grealish flop all over the place for 2 extra games and then win. And for the record, I don't know how you feel about him. I think he's incredibly talented, but I know people say he gets fouled all the time. He goes to ground way too easily, in my humble, unprofessional opinion. It drives me insane watching him.
You're starting a team right now. Zach Grealish or Madison? Who are you taking?
I'm taking Madison.
You're crazy.
I might be on that one. I think I'm probably being pretty biased on that one.
You're crazy.
Madison can do so much with the ball. You know what? I might be wrong there as well, because I think Jack Grealish's movement is above James Madison's, but at the same time, James Madison has more around him right now. Like, Jack Grealish has to do more with Villa.
He's a monster. I absolutely love. Well, I'll save how I feel about him for our top 10 Premier League player rankings in a future episode. I love Grealish, but it is frustrating watching games like that, and then you kind of have that lingering opinion about a player. I definitely have a few of those.
And I probably developed that way too early on in his career at this point, but I don't know. It is what it is, but I cannot stand it when Leicester gets poor results against them. But yeah, this is definitely a big one. I mean, we're coming off the big win against Liverpool. We got to now sustain that success, and keep the winning going right now. Any other big games for this upcoming weekend for you?
Last one, not as aesthetically pleasing to the eye. I got Fulham and Sheffield, the bottom of the table.
I had that one too.
I usually don't care about the bottom teams like West Brom. Nobody wants to ever watch you. There's not one player on that team, that you care about. I really, really, really like Scotty Parker, the Fulham manager, and I like Sheffield too. So I don't think it's over for Sheffield. There's no way they're going to make up 14 points. But I think if Fulham can get the 3 points this weekend, I think they have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming off the win against Everton. Like, if they're going to get going, they got to get going now. They got to start accumulating some points, because it's a big gap right now.
Yeah.
I feel like usually that last relegation spot, it's like way tighter right now. Like, I feel like it's almost always fluid between the 18th, 17th, 16th. And right now it's like we've been stuck with these three teams at the bottom for a while, I feel like.
Yeah. All three of the teams at the bottom decided to show up in November. So
just brutal.
You got any other games you're looking forward to watching?
It was just those two, honestly. I think the Liverpool-Everton one's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And to me, I actually kind of enjoy the relegation battles at the end, because it's just such a nice change from American sports, where teams are playing for draft picks. Like, I don't think Americans appreciate watching these teams that are maybe have won one game out of the last 10, and they're still playing like everything's on the line at the end, because it really is.
Oh yeah.
Their jobs, their wages. Because a lot of times, if these guys get relegated, it's built into their contract that their wages are going to go down.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I love the drama at the end now.
Can I add one more thing before I move on?
Yeah.
It's really sad that we didn't mention City Arsenal, and it's not one of the bigger games by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's funny. I was actually looking at a list, because at one of these, at some point, we're going to talk about, our favorite, or I'd say our top Premier League players. And I was looking at this list it was something NBC Sports put out, and they listed their top 20 players. There was one Leicester City player on it. Guess who it was?
Jamie Vardy.
No, Timothy Castellon, the left back that we signed from Italy. Arsenal had 3 guys on the list. And I was like, no one's excited about Arsenal right now. No one.
I'm looking at, won't give anything away. I'm looking at, I had top 10 Premier League players, and I had 5 honorable mentions, some snubs, and I don't have one Arsenal player or Chelsea player.
Is Arsenal even in the top 10 right now? They're 10th.
I think, yeah. Who do you put in that group? Saka's fantastic, but he's not top 20. He's going to be there very soon.
If you have 3 players in the top 20 of the Premier League, your team better be in the upper half, and like significantly in the upper half. So I don't know. Shout out to NBC Sports. That list was absolutely trash.
Inspiring content always from NBC Sports.
All right, moving on here to the Champions League. And so we were we wrote down our predictions before the games the other day. Spoiler alert, I am not off to a hot start with
Neither
my
am I.
predictions. Yeah, I don't know if I was just way off or I don't know what. I'm just in rough shape right now. Let's start out with PSG and Barcelona. Who'd you predict there?
I have PSG. I had them over Barcelona. Did you
Go
have
ahead.
Did you have Barcelona?
Yeah, and in hindsight, I was thinking about it today as I was driving into work, and I was just like, why? That is so stupid. Like, I don't know if I got like romantically thinking about the game where Barcelona came back. I think it was 3 years ago and won like 6-1
Yeah.
to advance. Like, Barcelona hasn't been what they used to be for, I feel like, more than a year now.
Yeah, they're horrendous. Watching them. So going into the game, I found out obviously Neymar wasn't playing, and I kind of regretted that pick. And I mean, at halftime, I was like, "Wow, this was a great pick," because Barcelona is legitimately terrible. I feel so bad for Messi. I don't know if you watched the game the other day, but he looks miserable in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Zero movement off the ball, no forward runs, not tracking back. I mean, he was a statue out there. He had absolutely zero impact on the game. He scored a penalty. Yeah, he didn't even attempt a shot in 90 minutes. How does that happen in a Champions League game? You got the best player in the world, and he doesn't attempt a shot.
I don't know why Barcelona is holding on to him like they are. Like, he doesn't want to be there. Like, it's just that team kind of, it's Barcelona. Like, they're still going to do really good domestically. They're still going to be in the mix every single year, but I feel like there's got to be somewhat of a mini rebuild there. Like, that is a club that belongs in the conversation at the top of the world every single year. And I mean, they got thrashed the other day.
Yeah, it was bad.
And PSG, like you said, didn't even have Neymar. Like, imagine if they did have Neymar.
I know. Are you following anything, or are you following any of the details on the financial crisis Barcelona's in?
I mean, yes and no. After Manchester City was allowed to compete in the Champions League this year, I try not to get wrapped up in the club's financial stuff, because I feel like if you're name branded enough, somehow everything's going to work out.
Yeah, did you see the contract that got released in the press? What Messi's making a year?
Oh God, I don't want to know.
So I could be way out of line here. This could be an exaggeration, but I want to say they're like 750 million in debt. And the local Spanish newspaper in Barcelona got a hold of Messi's contract, which no one knew about, allegedly. 168 million a year.
A year.
100 in Barcelona is paying Messi $168 million a year.
That is insane.
That's absolutely
that
nuts.
is how you end up 750 million in debt. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah. So they're a nightmare. So there's a little extra Barcelona trivia for the fans.
How do you work your way out of that? Oh my God.
I know.
It's gonna be a lot of bake sales to come back from that one.
All right. So you had Barcelona. I had PSG. It's pretty much over, but we've seen weirder things in that matchup, so we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and Barcelona is a team that has done the weirder thing. So
yeah,
I don't know, because at the end of the day, there is a ton of talent there, so you never know what's possible. Let's move on to Liverpool.
I had Liverpool over Leipzig. How about you?
I had Leipzig. This is another one I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, why did I pick that? And I guess I always thought if I'd been smarter about it, I would have thought Liverpool was going to rebound after that loss against Leicester City, because at the end of the day, I don't think results domestically really translate to what happens in the Champions League, because I don't really feel like the Liverpool players feel like they're in a title race right now, but they are still in the Champions League. So I think kind of all the deficiencies that might be happening domestically, those aren't going to show up in the Champions League. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm saying I regret my decision, and I was regretting it was a dumb decision.
Is that done? Is that done and dusted? Is that over?
Where
was the first game? Was it I know some of these teams are playing in neutral venues, and I can't really follow who's played the home leg first. Obviously, that's really important.
Yeah.
What
I actually don't know that one off the
it
top
had
of
to
my
it
head.
had to have been in Leipzig.
Yeah. I do think if Liverpool is going to blow this, it's going to be on them. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to come from Leipzig. Like, obviously, ultimately it will. But what I'm trying to say is I think Liverpool will have made some catastrophic errors if they're going to blow this one.
Absolutely.
How about Sevilla and Dortmund?
I had Sevilla over Dortmund.
This was the only one that I feel like I might get right. I had Dortmund.
Sevilla scored a big goal late. Dortmund went up 3-1, and then Sevilla cut it 3-2. We're knocking on the door for the equalizer late. How good is Erling Haaland?
I mean, good.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That was probably the one game that I knew the least about, and it's the only one I got right, which is really horrible for me on my end. How about Porto and Juve?
I had Juve over Porto. God, did Juventus look terrible.
I feel like everyone must have had that. Like, I got this one wrong too, obviously, but I feel like I'm justified in getting this one wrong.
Yeah, I've seen Porto. I saw Porto play a bunch or a few times during the group stage because they're in the same group as City.
Yeah.
I knew they were incredibly strong defensively and they had a little firepower up top, but I mean, it was absolutely shocking what they did to Juve. Was it 2-1 or 2-0?
2-1.
2-1. Okay.
So
it was.
I mean, that's going to be very much in play as they go down to the final leg.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
still, I think if you're looking at that Juventus team, you're thinking they're, I don't know. I'll be shocked if Juventus doesn't advance. And I'm saying that even though they trail 2-1 right now. So we'll see.
Yeah.
How about Atletico Madrid and Chelsea?
I got Madrid.
Same.
They're unbelievable this year.
I'm a big Diego Simeone fan.
Are you?
Diego Simeone fan as a coach. Yeah, I was reading a ton about him. I think it was my final year of playing, or maybe it was my first year out of him as a coach and how he goes about it. Obviously, I got to see Atletico Madrid dismantle Leicester City a couple of years in the Champions League. I just think with what he's done with that club and what that club is now compared to what it used to be maybe 8 years ago, incredible.
Absolutely incredible. Adding Suarez was massive for them.
Yep. And in terms of Chelsea, I mean, they're just, I know they got new manager. Maybe they'll get a bump from that. But if there's never been a team more vulnerable than Chelsea right now.
Yeah, I think Atletico wins that pretty easily. I also think that maybe on the touchline this year, you should go with the Simeone all black suit.
I don't think I can
head to toe Gilmore on the sideline this year.
He looks scary in that all black suit.
Can you imagine playing for him?
No, I can't.
No.
If you read about what he was like as a player, like his team, like totally has his personality in the way they play. And the way he coaches, the way he looks, it's like it's perfect for his personality as a player. Like terrifying, basically.
Oh yeah,
as you said it. The all black suit, it's perfect for him. It is not perfect for me, I think. Maybe people find me terrifying. Who knows? All right. Bayern. Everyone has Bayern, right?
Bayern, yeah. Let's move on. Bayern.
Real Madrid.
I think that's going to be incredibly exciting. I have Madrid. Atalanta's been they've been so exciting to watch the past couple of years. They've been really up and down this year domestically. Yeah. So I don't really know what to get from them. I'd like to think that Madrid's experience with, Zidane on the touchline, I'd like to think that they're going to get by, but I think it's going to be close.
I mean, Real Madrid, just so much experience winning the big games at this stage. Like, it's hard. This would be a bad beat for them if they don't go through here.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a nightmare.
Yeah. And the last one, Man City.
Yeah, City, I think they'll roll through. I think them and Bayern, they have to be the two favorites right now to win it. So I think both of them will roll over, knock on wood.
How do you feel, let's say PSG successfully gets by Barcelona? Like, how do you think PSG matches up right now with Bayern and Manchester City?
They absolutely have a chance. I mean, you have two of the best players in the world. That's how especially City, who presses forward and, who has their entire team in your end. Mbappe is a disaster. He's the perfect kryptonite.
Yep.
I think when he was with Monaco, 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say they knocked City out of the Champions League. I can't remember. And he was like 17, 18 years old, and he went off against them. So yeah, I'm terrified of Mbappe.
Do you think he might come to the Premier League at some point?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he'd
Yeah.
do well. Him and Neymar, they're cut out for League Earn. They're not.
They're going to be stars for a long time where they are right now.
Yeah.
I feel like the Premier League's going to, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
At the same time, I don't know if it's in their best interest, if I'm being honest.
He's too dramatic. I can't. Although if him and Grealish joined up, I'm sure that'd be great for you to watch.
That'd be my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
My worst nightmare. All right. Changing gears here. Let's go to the U.S. men's national team. And what kind of prompted this one was Christian Pulisic, U.S. captain. Since the managerial change at Chelsea, he's only played 84 minutes out of a possible 450. As American fans, do you think we should be a little bit concerned with this?
1 to 10, I'm at a 9.
Oh.
So I think Tuchel's been here for 6 games.
Yep.
I wrote it down. In the 6 games, Pulisic's come off the bench in 3, and he started 1. The only start being a 5th round game in the FA Cup against Barnsley. Yeah,
does that even count as a start?
No, it doesn't. The only reason I'm not at a 10 is, and I'm taking this from someone I heard, I forget who it was. The only thing I can think of is Tuchel had him for 2 years at Dortmund. He's saying to himself, I don't really know a ton about this team. I'm trying to sort it out. He knows what Pulisic can offer. He's trying to sort out everybody else. And maybe they had a conversation one-on-one about that. That I think that's a stretch, but that's the only scenario that makes sense to me.
I'm up there too. I wouldn't quite say I'm a 9 just because I know Pulisic's had some injury problems this year as well, but it's definitely a little bit concerning. I mean, we don't get a whole lot of American players playing at the top of the top of the top very often. And for much of last year, he was. I mean, he was in the first 11 on a regular basis. And I'm just concerned that if he falls out of that, for him, I don't think it's going to be an easy way back in at another elite team. And we need some players that are battle tested at the top of the soccer universe. Like the American team needs that. And I'm concerned if this becomes a long-term trend for him. Like I don't want him to end up at like a mid-level team.
Yeah.
Like it's been really fun, I'd say, for the last year to talk about kind of the excitement building up with our U.S. national team because we have a lot of players playing at high-profile teams right now. You look at Weston McKennie, not a whole lot in the Premier League, but in terms of Europe in general, there's a bunch. And I don't know if Christian Pulisic was kind of he's our captain. He's our top guy right now.
Yeah.
And if we start seeing him on the bench on a regular basis, I don't know. It's just not going to look good. But in terms of the national team, any other guys right now that you're particularly excited about?
Dest with Barcelona. Absolutely love watching him. Tyler Adams with Leipzig. Love watching him. Love Zach Steffen. He played a couple big games for City this year when Ederson was out with COVID. He's fantastic. I mean, think about him in training every single day, saving shots from the likes of Aguero, De Bruyne.
Best in the world.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I'm really excited about the U.S. men's team. The Pulisic thing is really bumming me out, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been telling people for the last year almost that like, no, seriously, like take our men's team serious right now. You mentioned Sergio Dest. I mean, he's playing for Barcelona and he's young, like real young. And he's going to be in the conversation for one of the best defenders at the world at some point, potentially, with where he's at right now. And yeah, again, the Pulisic thing, it was just like, man, I feel like we had all these good things going and then boom, manager change. And I don't know. Things change fast.
If it doesn't work out for him in Chelsea, because the thing that bothers me about Chelsea is they have so many players that all do the same thing and play the same position. And I think Pulisic is a whole nother category. He's the only player on that team that has pace, that can score, that can play
Yep.
make, that can be creative. There's nobody else like that on Chelsea. You know what I mean? And if they can't find a spot for him, he's got to move somewhere. I'd love to see him on Arsenal. I think he'd be
I was
unbelievable.
literally just going to say that. I feel like he can thrive in Arsenal. I feel like Arsenal's missing that. I feel like Arsenal needs to bring in a little bit of change right now. And that's still, Arsenal might not be at the top of the Premier League anymore, but they're the kind of team that has the prestige, I'll say, where no matter who they're playing, they're going to get their opponent's best all the time. No team is taking a day off when they go to play Arsenal. So Pulisic's still going to get that top-rate experience, that top-rate test day in, day out. So if he's successful at Arsenal, it's not the same as Chelsea, but it's still going to make him the best U.S. men's national team player he could be, I think.
It could be as big as, I mean, he could be that person. They're young. They have a lot of talent. Yep. Imagine him playing as the number 10 with Aubameyang up top. I mean, you got to think they're going from, 10th to like at least 6th with him.
Yep.
So
he can be a game changer over there.
Yeah. So to be continued.
Arteta, if you're out there, listen up. We want him. Grab him. Christian Pulisic, the young American. Take him. Some other exciting stuff for the national team. Just announced some friendlies playing Northern Ireland in early March, which I'm actually looking forward to. I feel like this is actually going to be a little bit more important than it might get billed for, because Northern Ireland is, to me, that's the kind of team that we need to start beating on a regular basis. Like, we played Wales, I think it was at one point last year, and people got excited about the win, and it was like, yeah, well, if we're ever going to go anywhere, like some of these teams we're playing, like we need to start beating them regularly. Northern Ireland missed European qualification, barely, went down to their final game, extra time. So Northern Ireland's good, but we need to start beating the good teams regularly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Did they lose to Scotland? Was that game?
They lost to Slovakia in extra time. So a heartbreak, absolute heartbreak. Yeah. But if you go back to the European Championships, not last cycle, obviously the one before, Northern Ireland actually had some success. So it's a good team. Like, this would be a good win, but we need to become the country that now starts, racking up good wins on a regular basis. It can't become this amazing feat. And we're playing at Northern Ireland, so I just think it's going to be a great test. And we're going to have a lot of our European players just based on the location. So I'm actually really excited for this game. And I think it's going to be a great test, too, because we have a Nations League Final Four coming up, Gold Cup, and obviously World Cup qualifying, all starting by the 2022. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
It's an exciting time to be a U.S. men's national team fan. I've all my friends who can't really get into soccer or only tune into like the big World Cup games. I've been on them. This is the golden generation. This is the group that's going to, bring more attention to the game in the States. So on one hand, you have like such high hopes, but on the other hand, you have just so much PTSD from us not qualifying. So my emotions are all over the place with them, but it's spot on by saying that these are the games that they need to be. You show up, you win these games every single time. It has to be.
That brutal loss to Trinidad is like Trinidad and Tobago is like burned in my brain.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a little bit nervous as well, and I think you touched on it perfectly, because we've been excited about all the guys we were just talking about. But if this is a bad 18 months of soccer for the national team, like, that's a lot of excitement and hype that all for nothing again, and can't go through that, especially after the last World Cup qualifying cycle. All right, final segment of the show, and we do this every week. Trivia. And I'll stick with the soccer theme here. On our Monday episodes, it just covers about every sport. So if you want some wild random trivia, tune in on Mondays. That's 10 o'clock Eastern time. That's when our Monday show happens. And you can hear a little bit just about everything. All right, first one here. This is wild. What is the record for most red cards in a single match? And I'm gonna give you some numbers to choose from here. Okay. 6, 12,
God.
36, 42, or 48.
Most red cards in a game.
Most red cards in a single match.
So 6, 12. 6 was my initial thought, but then 6, 12, 36, or 48.
Or 42.
42. I'd like to think that 36 or 42 is impossible unless you're giving a red to the trainer with the magic spray. So if it's one of those two, I'll tip my cap to you. But I'm gonna say 6.
Oh, that was my guess. I actually took this quiz earlier and I got this one wrong. The correct answer is 36.
What?
In 2011, referee Damian Rubinho set a world record by giving out 36 red cards in a single match between Claypool and Victoriano Arenas. After a brawl erupted, Rubinho sent off all 22 players, every substitute, and some technical staff.
Okay, that makes sense. I should have guessed that.
Yeah. What were the first 2 teams ever to play in an international match?
Leeds United and Nottingham Forest.
Oh, sorry. What are the first two countries to play in an international match?
Oh, first 2 countries.
Yep, my bad.
That's all right. Germany and England.
Got one of them right. England.
England.
Take another stab at that one.
England. France.
Scotland.
Close.
November 30th, 1872, the national teams of Scotland and England went head-to-head at West of Scotland Cricket Club's ground at Hamilton Crescent in Partick, Scotland. The match, which was watched by 4,000 people, finished in a 0-0 draw. For viewers, that is not a good start for the sport, but
No.
it's caught on since then. I think you're actually going to get this next one. Which country's soccer team helped secure a truce to the nation's civil war in 2006?
Can you repeat it one more time?
Which country's soccer team, which national team, helped its country secure a truce in the nation's civil war in 2006?
I'll take a stab and say Rwanda.
Oh, I knew this one. Ivory Coast. It was
Ivory Coast. I wouldn't have got that.
Some people nicknamed Didier Drogba the man that can end civil wars.
Okay, I've never heard that. Love him, but never heard that. That's a good question.
Who was the first English player to win league titles in 4 different countries? Last question.
These are okay. First off, I've been getting a lot of stick from last episode because I did pretty well in the trivia, but we weren't going live. So I had a couple friends say, "Oh, you were Googling the answers on your phone," and now here we are live, and I'm 0 for 4.
No, you got part of the first one right with England.
0.5 out of 4.
I'm gonna give you a hint though. You know who this is. It's not like some ancient name that you've barely heard of.
First player to win a domestic trophy.
First English player to win 4 trophies in 4 different countries.
Oh my goodness.
You definitely know who he is.
4 different countries. Ronaldo? Oh no, he's not English. I have no idea.
Yes, you do.
First English player.
He's played in the U.S. One of his trophies.
Wayne Rooney?
David Beckham.
Oh my God. That's
France,
so stupid.
the U.S., Spain, and England.
Wow, that's a bad miss.
Yeah, I thought you were going to get that one.
Yeah, I don't have my phone Googling the answers.
I will vouch that he was not Googling the answers last time.
Oh, the Beckham miss is bad.
Oh, wait a minute. Someone actually did get it. Tim Penrod got the last one with Ivory Coast, and he also got David Beckham.
Love it.
Good for you, Coach Tim. Good for you. All right, that's our show this week. Thanks for listening. Again, we'll be on next week. Every Monday at 10 o'clock Eastern time is the normal Coast to Coast podcast, and that's where we kind of cover all sports. Again, that's Mondays, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We do have a guest on next week, Coach David Gage from Stevenson University. And probably hopefully going to be Thursdays is when we will do the Soccer Hour. If you have a better idea of a title, hit us up. Love to hear it. Thanks for listening.
Coast to Coast podcast is hosted by Greg Gilmore, that's me, and Phil Marino. The show is produced and roughly edited by yours truly. Feedback, you can always reach us via email at talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.